see as sort of the biggest risk right now on the horizon?
In terms of that deal, I think sort of the biggest risk is how does the U.S. government handle the policy issue of having TikTok, a major app used by many millions of Americans, owned by the Chinese. That's the major issue, because it becomes a policy issue that lasts through future apps that come into national security considerations.
From your perspective, I mean, I know you've been quoted as sort of thinking overall, Nova, that perhaps it's better that they remain under the purview in some way, that you said in the past that CFIUS mitigation is better than having data held under US ownership. Just nuance that for us a little bit. What's the best possible outcome for the US in terms of elements of control here?
Yeah, I mean, I think once you have a mitigation agreement that has oversight by the U.S. government, the data and information that flow into the company is reviewed and seen essentially oversight by the U.S. government. So what I mean by that is that sometimes, you could have certain companies in very limited and specific circumstances that are American-owned where that data isn't as well protected or that information isn't as well protected. And in this instance, if you do a mitigation agreement right, the U.S. government, or at least the right entities, will be able to have oversight in terms of what's happening, in terms of any intrusions, cyber attacks, or other information that's put into Americans' phones.
Is there sort of any case to be made here, Nova, for just restricting it altogether, basically just saying we can't have it? Why wouldn't the government take that route instead?
Yeah, sure. I mean, the biggest issue, and one that senators bring up, Senator Sullivan and others, is the issue of reciprocity. When you have China banning Gmail, Google, YouTube, and all the rest of U.S. apps, why are we allowing a major app owned by them to be here in the United States? And there is a history of determined actions by that government to get U.S. data and U.S. persons data and U.S. government official data. So there's a lot of good reasons to consider blocking altogether.
What do you see as those broader national security issues?
Yeah, I think the broader national security issues are in terms of the personal data, you have a huge portion of U.S. kids who are going to grow up. They're going to become senior business people. They're going to become government people. And that information and their information in the hands of an entity that ultimately is required to give them to the Chinese government is something to seriously consider. And when you have an app on a phone, the push things to improve the app or get the new version, I mean, through those methodologies, there is a capability to get information or hack into the phones, as we've seen with other apps out there.
The problem is, people love it. And I suppose that's the political issue at the forefront. I'm wondering how, some of the workarounds, we were looking at selling parts of it to Oracle, to Walmart, are there any ways in which you could look at the future of ByteDance in a different manner that allows the use of TikTok in the US, but without some of the negative repercussions from a security perspective?
Yeah, I think it's tough. And my view is, the U.S. government's got to do what it has to do in terms of security. But there are a lot of ways to mitigate it. One methodology is that's used in the classified world for certain companies is a full proxy arrangement that effectively ensures that the running and management of the company and the information of the company is completely walled off and separated away from the foreign owner in all facets, where they don't get access or the information to it. It's going to be tough, as a few have noted, given that the platform was built in China, and to get the repairs and the things that need to be made, that makes it tough.
I am curious, Nova. I mean, given your former role at the Treasury Department and working on some of these CFIUS deals, I am curious as to whether you think the current structure of CFIUS is sort of up to the task for whatever sort of new world issues that we're dealing with when it comes to kind of these cross-border data privacy issues, things that probably weren't much of a concern, 20 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, when I went to Treasury to help run the CFIUS, I had 6 people on staff. CFIUS has more than 100 now, just at Treasury, let alone the other departments. So I think it's become a greater focus. I think CFIUS is a much more capable entity and can really go to address this. The problem is that technology moves very quickly, and to stay on top of it, to monitor the agreements that have been put in place requires a lot of resource and meticulous actions.